It's been a while since Boston College landed a four-star recruit, but maybe the next one isn't going to come from New England.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black, the editor of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. We've got a packed episode. We always have a packed episode here on Locked On Boston College, your only daily Boston College podcast. Today we're going to talk about Donovan Ezeiruaku. Could he rise to being a first-round draft pick? Secondly, which positional group was the most improved in 2024? I will give you my thoughts on who I would choose. And to kick things off, we're going to do some recruiting news about a four-star I love BC's chances in. And to kick that off, let's talk about Jordan Thomas. But before we do that, let's give you a little bit of context here. So we have been talking a lot about recruiting here on Locked On BC. This weekend was big. There was a ton of local recruits. And by local, I mean New York, Connecticut, and New England. Connecticut's part of New England. New England and New York. BC has landed 7 recruits so far in this class, and all but one are part of that Northeast corridor. That being Corinne Berry from California being the lone one. So the focus has really been on New England. But as I said on an earlier episode, the number of targets are starting to dwindle. There's only there's 3 other kids that they're looking at in the class of 2026 that are from the New England area. And that is Marky Wahlberg, Carter Gooden from Tabor Academy, and Merrick Jen of Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire. So the staff has been busy. They've been back on the road. Ray Brown, he's been in Oklahoma. Darrell Wyatt's in Texas. Will Long is out in California. You've seen Jonathan DiBiaso doing some things. Dan O'Brien is finding some linebackers to talk to. They've been spread to the winds doing their coaching diligence out on the recruiting trail. On Tuesday, however, Bill O'Brien, who was on the road, he's been talking about being on the road, was in New Jersey, and he was at Bergen Catholic High School, a school that has been a hotbed for talented recruits. BC has had kids from Bergen Catholic in the past. I think a Nolan Bergeson, a former defensive back that went there. But I don't really feel like that's a school that they've been, like, it's not like a pipeline school, but it's been a school that they've had success at. And there's 2 in the class of 2026 coming from Bergen Catholic that BC has targeted. That's CJ Edwards, a edge rusher who's been on campus a couple times. He came to a game. He was there in the spring. But the purpose of this podcast segment is to talk about 4-star cornerback Jordan Thomas. Now, Jordan Thomas is he is a very highly regarded recruit. On 247, he is rated the number 157 recruit in the state. I mean, in the nation, yes, state. Number 16 cornerback in the class of 2026, and the number 2 recruit in New Jersey. He has over 30 offers. He has 36. And you name the school, they've offered him. Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Oregon, Florida, Miami, USC, Texas, Tennessee. So you hear all this and you're saying to yourself, well, BC's not going to get him. And you may be right. You may be right that obviously when all these blue bloods are involved, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But has stuck around through a lot of this recruitment so far. It's easy to see when you have a kid. I think back to Michael Carroll, who is a recruit that BC was in on early last year. He blew up. And you know where he's a recruit he committed to now? Alabama. BC fell off of his list very fast. That's not the case with Jordan Thomas. He, even with offers from Ohio State and Texas A&M and all these other schools, I'm telling you, every big school's in on this kid. He's still getting recruited by BC, and he's still working with them. So to me, that means that BC is still in this. He's been on campus, I believe, twice. It might be just once, but I know he's been there. I've seen him there. And so he's got a good relationship. Savon Huggins, who is a legendary New Jersey athlete who's now coaching running backs for BC. He was there with Bill O'Brien. But you bring the big guns, like Bill O'Brien, having him come to his high school, which is what the picture was. It's if you see it on the screen there. He came to his school and brought him in. So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting recruitment. So now you're looking for two things. The first thing you're going to be watching for with Jordan Thomas is, will he come back this spring? Now, spring practice, he's from New Jersey, so it's not necessarily a short ride, but it's not like he's going to like USC. He can get into a car and drive on over. Will he come this spring again? He may not, and that's okay, because the bigger thing that we're going to watch for, will Jordan Thomas pick Boston College to take an official visit? And I'm going to say right now, I think the odds are pretty good. I think there's a good chance that Jordan Thomas takes an official visit, just because I feel like BC has been on him since day one. I feel like they've done a good job. I don't feel like they've slid back in the pack. Like, there's some schools that are just, they're like, yeah, Boston College is still recruiting me. And then you could tell that they don't really care. I don't get that sense right now. I get the sense that Boston College is still there. And you've got Ray Brown, an excellent defensive backs coach that can do that. You have Bill O'Brien. You have Savon Huggins with the regional piece. There's a lot going for Boston College here. Maybe you bring in, maybe it's a package deal. You get Edwards and him. That would be great because Edwards is a good player too, CJ Edwards. But I'm looking at this going, this would be, CJ Burton was the big recruit for Jeff Hafley. CJ Burton and Drew Kendall. Those were the two big ones. Could this be the first big commitment if BC was to land him? I mean, you look at that offer list. Burton had one similar. This would be right up there. Now, I would love to, I had to say, beggars can't be choosers, but I would love to see this kind of offer list for another position, because it feels like defensive back they did a great job in the class of 2025. They don't particularly need a huge, that's not the stud player they need. I would love a, 4-star linebacker or a 4-star wide receiver, something like that. But beggars can't be choosers. And heck, if Jordan Thomas wants to come here, I ain't complaining. I'm just saying this could be a big one. This would be one to watch for. There's obviously locally, you're going to be watching for Marky Wahlberg. Marky Wahlbridge. The name's going to kill me, right? I mean, you guys think it goes through your head every time you say his name, of St. Sebastian. He's an offensive lineman. He's a borderline 4-star. He'll be one to watch for. But Jordan Thomas, he's right there too. And I right now they're still putting together their big board. They're making offers, seeing who's really interested, who's just saying thank you, University of Boston College on Twitter, and don't have a care in the world about BC. They're still figuring all that out right now. There could be more 4-stars that end up moving up their board. I look at Darryl Wyatt a lot because he's one guy that has done an excellent job of getting high-level wide receivers. With the way that they've been playing, I could see them getting involved in some in Texas as well. But Jordan Thomas, he's one I'll watch for. Now, in our second segment, I want to get into which positional group was most improved in 2024. I'll explain who it is and why in just a moment. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge. That's where TALKSPACE comes into. TALKSPACE, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With TALKSPACE, signing up is simple. You can match up with a licensed therapist who fits your needs within 48 hours, and it's usually very convenient. It's actually very convenient all the time. You can have sessions from the comfort of your home and even message your therapist between appointments. Plus, TALKSPACE is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insurance members, there's a $0 copay. It's never been easier to prioritize mental health. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with TALKSPACE when you go to TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnCollege and enter promo code SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnCollege and enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnCollege, promo code SPACE80. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. And thank you all of my everydayers who have listened to Locked On BC and made this part of your routine. I love each and every one of you, whether you're commenting or sharing this with friends. It does make a huge difference. Now, before we get into our second segment, I want to share with you you guys are always talking about, we're always talking about NIL here on Locked On BC. The Friends of the Heights reached out. They have a special program going on right now. It's the Green Line Rivalry Give, and that is for Saturday when BC plays BU in the Bean Pot. It's one of the most storied matchups, obviously, in college hockey. If you're going to the game, keep an eye for a special QR code, and you can scan it to support athletes both off and on the site, on the ice. There's some cool giveaways too. If you want to give, there's 3 different levels. $18 in honor of the first year BC and BU played one another in 1918. $68 for 1968 was the year BC sent its first player to the NHL, and $296 for BC and BU, who have played each other 296 times before Saturday's game. All donors at 68 and above will be also entered for a drawing for an exclusive autographed and framed jersey by legendary BC goalie Corey Schneider. I'll throw the link up in the notes. Make sure you give. If you're looking to help the program, this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Now, we are here again to talk about the most improved group on the roster from 2024. Obviously, there's a new staff, lots of new coaches on the roster to change just the whole culture of where things are going. Now, the biggest changes came on the defensive side of the ball. You had all new coaches on the defensive side of the ball, other than they were all new. Excuse me. So my group that I'm going to pick is going to come from the defensive side for the most improved. I liked some of the play on the offensive side. Many of them played at the level that I expected them to. But one group that did go to the next level was the linebackers. This is my pick for the most improved unit of the year. Going into this year, we had been talking incessantly about Jeff Hafley and his inability to develop linebackers. You know, his recruiting strategy, you saw it with Cam Arnold, you saw it with Bryce Steele, Sione Hala. I'm sure there's other ones. Jalen Blackwell, I believe, is one too, where he gets safeties that are big and then converts them to linebackers. They can play both. And that was kind of his MO. We watched a lot in years past, specifically 2023. 2020, I mean, every year with Jeff Hafley. Linebackers they didn't seem instinctual in knowing what they were doing out there. There were times where Cam Arnold was just, he may hit the wrong hole, or there'd be a wide open space because there was a guy in the wrong spot. It was an area of real weakness. In 2023 specifically, we saw that quite frequently. This year, with the same players, we saw this group who took in no transfers in 2023 into 2024 take what I thought was a very big leap in the right direction. Cam Arnold looked like a leader out there. And yes, he got hurt and missed, the last third of the season. But when he was out there, he looked like a completely different player. He looked like a confident linebacker that knew what he was doing, was, making plays, and was an asset more than a worry. He had the dot on his head, so he could be able to call that he was a leader. He did all of that. And I thought that made him incredibly valuable. And when they lost him, I have to say, I was shocked to see not only Owen McGowan, but Joe Marinaro both step up to not just be serviceable, but good. Joe Marinaro, by the time the season ended, was fun to watch. And that's credit to Tim Lewis and the defensive coordinator, the defensive staff, for putting him in the right spot. Because if you asked Joe Marinaro to do certain things, he probably wouldn't have done well. But that's on the coaching staff. They figured out, to their credit, what each of these guys did well, and they put together plans to make it work. And they did not let their flaws get exposed as frequently as we saw with Jeff Hafley. Marinaro, this is a kid that was a walk-on. I watched him, and I was like, maybe he's going to be a two-step too slow. Kid went out there and balled every week. And by the end of the season, I'm going to say this right now, I loved watching every snap that guy played. And maybe his NFL career is not going to happen. But, man, that last season, I hope that's something that he and his family never forget, because that was a very cool spot. Owen McGowan, kind of the same thing. Not as much as Marinaro, but he was a guy that for the last couple of years, again, I'm watching going, He's too slow, too small. And again, Tim Lewis put together plans to make him good, to make him a valuable member of this, and to the point where next year we're looking at him going, Owen McGowan could do this. Owen McGowan's going to be fine. Those guys all did it. Additionally, the one that I think probably took the biggest leap in terms of where his potential is going to be is Bam Crouch. Davion Crouch, he went from a guy that, watching at linebacker, he was fine, but he was like just a step off all the time, to leading the team and one of the top tacklers in the country in the bowl season. He had 14 tackles. I think he had like 5 stops. He was everywhere, to the point again where he, who is a much more natural linebacker, he's not a safety convert, is going to be a huge part of your defense next year. And one that you probably look at going, he's going to be the guy that could be your game changer, the guy that makes big plays for you. That's what Bam Crouch did. Now, there's the linebacker group. There's other pieces that will be coming up that we'll see next year, whether it's Jalen Blackwell, who we didn't get to see this year because of an injury, but from all reports and someone in his family who keeps telling me he's coming back, he should be back. So hopefully he becomes an asset. Then there's Bryce Steele, who I didn't even expect to play this year because of the health thing that was going on with his cancer. He comes back and plays, and hopefully he's completely healed and ready to roll. So the linebacker group, they did not add anybody in the transfer portal, and that's for a reason. It seems to me that they feel confident with the guys that they have that they can do what this defense needs them to do. And in 2024, they did it the best, I think, out of all of the units in terms of improvement. I thought they improved the most. You could say that about Donovan Ezeiruaku because obviously he did it the most. I mean, he went from 2.5 sacks to 16 sacks. But as a unit, I think the linebacker group, they improved the most. Now, in our final segment, I'm going to get into whether Donovan Ezeiruaku, who we were just mentioning, could he become a first-round draft pick in the NFL next year? You're going to want to hear my thoughts on that in just a moment. Attending NFL playoff games is an experience like no other. The energy, the excitement, and the connection with other fans are unmatched. I remember the thrill of seeing my favorite team, the Patriots, clinch a playoff win live. It's a memory I'll never forget. This year, Game Time makes it even easier to create those unforgettable moments with their new feature, Game Picks. It filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats so you can focus on what matters, being there. I used Game Time Picks to grab tickets for an upcoming playoff game, and it couldn't have been easier. I found a super deal that gave me incredible value for amazing seats, and I could even feature the view from my spot before buying. The all-in pricing is a game changer, and I love everything about it, including the curated deals, which makes it easy to find the best prices on great seats. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. This is Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. Now, when you're done with this episode, I want you to check out the Locked On Celtics podcast hosted by John Corrales as the Celtics get ready for hopefully banner number 19. I know some of you guys don't agree with me there, but that's what I want. Check out John Corrales' Locked On Celtics on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Now, wrapping things up here on Locked On BC, I was actually going to go in hard on Earl Grant in this episode, but maybe I'll just wait for tomorrow. So you're going to want to make sure you check out tomorrow's episode of Locked On Boston College. Today, I want to talk about the NFL draft, which we're going to start getting into the heavy analysis on the draft as the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, the pro days, combine, it's all coming down. And one name that's going to be coming up a lot is Boston College edge rusher Donovan Ezeiruaku. After leading the country in the regular season with 16.5 sacks, he became the Hendricks Award winner for best defensive end. Obviously, he got a lot of press. And if you listen to what Mitch Wolf of Eagle Insider said, he's got some of the best moves of an edge rusher in the NFL draft. He's fast, he's explosive, he can do it all, and he can confuse defenses better than any edge rusher, and he can just dominate. So there's a lot of thoughts of where he's gonna be drafted. You look at a lot of mock drafts, and you don't see him there, and I get that yet. There hasn't been a combine. They're going to talk about the kid from Penn State or the other one from Kennard from South Carolina. Those guys are going to get more publicity. But I'm saying right now, and I think Mel Kiper just agreed with me, watching him in the first round could be a potential fit for him. Mel Kiper just had his wild card, a player that he thinks could end up in the first round. And who did he pick? Donovan Ezeiruaku, who he had going number 32 to the Philadelphia Eagles. I've also heard a spot where he could end up with the Detroit Lions, which they just got eliminated, so he'd be going even higher there. So there's a potential for Donovan Ezeiruaku to go in the first round. Now, just think about how crazy that is. Just a year ago, he had 2.5 sacks, 2 sacks, both of them in one game against the Virginia Cavaliers, who had a garbage offensive line. Going from that to leading the country to becoming a first-round draft pick, that would be, again, another chapter to his story, which seems completely improbable given just where he came from. Now, I think as I said, there's a lot of variables that are going to go into this. He's got to kill it at the combine. He hasn't. I don't think he's officially announced that he's going to the combine, but I would guarantee he's going to be there. He's got to kill at the combine. He's got to do well at the Senior Bowl. These are going to be like data points for him in terms of showing improvement, showing that he has the measurables that they're going to look for, whether it's the 40-yard dash or the lifts or whatever drills. We'll have Mitch Wolf again on to talk about all that. But I'm really pumped to see where he could go. Selfishly, I kind of hope he goes a little bit in the second round to go to the New England Patriots, but that's just me selfishly. I'd love to see him playing in town. So that is my last little just rant there. The other piece I want to tell you is that the ACC, you guys are always looking for news. The ACC schedule is coming out soon. It's coming out next week, in fact. Next week, the week 0 and week 1 games will be revealed. We already know BC's playing Fordham in week 1. Then their ACC opener for all 17 games will be announced on Friday. So Thursday, actually, I'm going to put it up on the screen so you guys can see it. I hope you guys can see this. So give me a second. I want to present it to make it more official. So here you go. Now, Thursday, they're going to have that. And then Friday, the ACC opener. We don't know who that's going to be yet. We actually don't know who the complete schedule. I've heard buzz that the Notre Dame game is on November 1st, but we have not even heard officially yet who the fourth out of conference game is going to be. It's at Michigan State, at home against Notre Dame, at home against Fordham. And it sounds like the buzz is going to be at home against UConn, but we have not got that officially announced yet. Then on Monday, the 27th, they're going to do a 2-hour show. Oh my gosh, from 9 to 11 for the ACC huddle to reveal the schedules. And, I'll probably the next morning recording because I am not staying up until I'm sorry, guys. I got morning work to do. I'm not staying up all night to do that, but I will break that all down. That's exciting. I love that, and we're getting on to the 1-year anniversary of when Jeff Hafley quit, because it was around that time last year when we got the schedule, and that was like 2 days later. I'm telling you all the different coaching candidates that they could be hiring. So that's all coming up. And I'm very excited to hear because, you're going to have home games against SMU, Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Notre Dame. And we're going to look at all the difficult spots, and get into all of that. We're going to have it here. So make sure you follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Check me out on Twitter and on Blue Sky. I know a few of you have been finding me on Blue Sky. Check me out there. Make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, and give us a 5-star review. The best that you guys can help is to do a 5-star review or share this with a friend. Something you guys can do. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.